Dave Anderson here with the Fisherman magazine, and if you can believe it, it's already September 1st. Here's your headlines. I can sum up this week's headlines in one word: albies. We've seen a very strong push of albies coming into eastern Rhode Island this week, just over the last few days as a matter of fact. Also, we've seen some albies charging through the canal. But the epicenter of the action remains to be Nantucket Sound, where it's almost reaching invasion levels. Stay tuned for all that and more on this week's New England Fishing Forecast.
The Fishing News is sponsored by these fine partners.
So before we begin, I'm just going to do a couple news items. The first one is going to be the giveaway. I actually remembered the plug this time around. This is a Couch's Cedarworks J2 jetty swimmer. Many of you will know that Bill is no longer with us. Was a great guy and a phenomenal plug builder. And, he gave me a pretty good number of these. I was a big fan of the original jetty swimmer, and I think at least I was part of the reason why the larger version was made. I kept telling him, I need a bigger one, Bill. And so he sent me a bunch to test, and I still have a bunch of them still in the bag here, so I'm going to pass one of those along to a lucky winner. If you're not familiar with how the contest works, it's quite simple. You just got to make a recent catch, take a photo, and send it to me, either at danderson@thefisherman.com or text it to me at the number on the screen. Stipulations are that the photo needs to show you, so I've got to see your face in the photo. It can't be, you holding it out like this or whatever. And of course, it has to be a recent catch. Other than that, it's fair game. We're going to close this one October 7th, sorry. So you've got quite a while to put that together. Doesn't matter if it's freshwater, saltwater, boat, surf, kayak, inner tube, doesn't matter to me. Just get them in to me, and I'll pick a winner to win this awesome plug. Something else that's going on right now with September 1st now upon us is some regulation changes. So first one, of course, is the giant bluefin tuna fishery is going to open up again for everyone that has an HMS permit as of today. So until the next sub quota is met, it's going to be a free-for-all out there again. And then the others are a little too convoluted for me to commit to memory, so I'm just going to read them off paper here. In Rhode Island, the black sea bass limit is going to increase to 3 fish. And if you're on a party or charter boat, if you've chartered a boat or gone out on a party boat, your limit will increase to 6. At the same time, the porgy limit is going to jump to 50. That's up from 30 if you're on a party or charter boat, not from your own boat, so don't get that mixed up. Over in Connecticut, TOG closes today and opens up on October 10th. So for the entire month of September, TOG are off limits in Connecticut, so don't forget that. But also, the black sea bass limit increases to 7, and that's again if you're on a party or charter boat. And they also have the same limit changes for porgies. They're going to go up to 50 through Halloween, so that's a lot of incentive to jump on one of these boats going out of Point Judith or Niantic or some other place in Connecticut. We've got a lot of them that we highly recommend, like the Francis Fleet, the 7Bs. We've got the Sunbeam, we've got the Blackhawk, and then lots of other smaller boats that you can jump on and take advantage of these regulations. So check through the report section, take the one that you think looks the most intriguing, and take the initiative, because this is a special time of the year, every year, when you can really fill that freezer if that's what you're looking to do. Last up, for those of you who have been following along, I'm just going to make it very short. Dad made a lot of good improvements this week, and actually I think he's finally going to get out of the hospital and go to a rehab facility to build up his strength sometime in the next week or so. We're closing in on 30 days of this hospital stay. So once again, thank you for all your support. Love running into you guys on jetties and places like that, and just having everybody kind of throw their support my way. So thank you very much.
We are the Fish Bites Nation, and this is your invitation. So grab some fish bites and get busy casting, because you can't join the nation without doing the catching.
So let's head over to Massachusetts now and start things off as we usually do with James Jewkes.
Straight from the refuge on Plum Island tonight. Have to fill my lungs with a little salt air. Haven't been up here in a few days. A little injury, but I'll be back fishing before too long. The wife thinks something different, but hey, what are you gonna do? I gotta fish, I gotta fish. Anyways, back to the report. Things have been really slow up here. This new moon was terrible. You had to work long hours to find a slot fish if you were lucky. Eel guys didn't do much better. The bait guys didn't really do much better either. Although one guy did land a 45-incher up near the river mouth. Bluefish have moved off somewhat. Those guys have been pretty spotty as well. But if you put in some long hours, you'll find some fish. Hoping this coming weekend, if the temps can drop down into the 50s on the overnight, should pull some fish in. I know the boat guys have been finding fish half mile, 3/4 mile out. Like I said though, if the temps cool down a little bit, then we'll definitely do better here on the sand. North and south of here, guys are still plugging away at some fish. No giants, just steady as it goes. But that's fishing. All right, Dave, that's all from Plum Island.
We didn't get a lot of information from the Boston area or the Plymouth area. Things seem to stay pretty status quo. From there, pretty much out onto the upper, the north side of the Cape as well. The next real hot zone seems to be Race Point, where the boat guys are crushing striped bass right now. Wouldn't be surprised at all to hear that the fish are moving into the beach also, but that's not confirmed. But there's a lot of nice fish out in the rips off the Race, and you're only a hop, skip, and a jump away from Stellwagen, and with the giant fishery opening back up, you might be able to make one of those double dip trips, catch some stripers in the rips, and then head out and try your luck with the tuna. But all those places, east of the Cape are now on, back on the menu, and a lot of guys have been catching smaller fish or catch and release with some of the real big ones, and it doesn't sound like the bite has slowed down much at all. So that is still in play. We're also getting a lot of reports of guys heading out to the canyons now, getting yellowfin, getting swordfish, getting mahi, getting wahoo. And for those of you that are interested in that but really aren't sure where to begin, let's take a little walk through, take a little walk through the basics with the guys from Goose Hummock shop. So let's check that out right now.
Hey, Goose people! A nice Friday afternoon, enjoying a nice bowl of chowder. Can't get into more New England than that. Canyons are on the brain right now. The boss man's out there right now, and so far he's dropped one sword. I'm getting some shit on the troll, it's good, but swords are where they're at. Right here, RJ Boyle. Nice squid, nice big hammer tube rig right here. We also got the eel rigs, and we also got the Medino taco baits. Fantastically rigged from RJ Boyle, a lot of fun. So, wahoo. This is what I want to get on Monday, a nice wahoo. Troll this thing wicked fast, get hammered. Nothing better than Nomad, it's all BKK hardware, unbelievable. Then, you can't forget about yellows and mahis. Nice little mahi. Nice little jet head right there. Run this at first light. Get smoked. These, nice great at trolling for dark time. First light like 3:30, 4 in the morning. Try to get some yellows, trolling wicked fast. The jet heads are wicked nice. Really cut through the water. They're supposed to have fast speeds, and also it's just smaller baits, sand eels. But then when they're on the tubes, you can go to the actual floating bulbs. But I'm stoked. The boys are out there right now. Hopefully they'll be coming back in with some nice fish. We're heading back out on Monday.
Thanks, guys. Very informative stuff, and just a great video all around. And next time, save me some of that chowder too. As we head down the beaches down there, we're definitely still hearing good fishing off those beaches. Nothing of great size. A lot of slot fish, a lot of schoolies, and mostly at night, guys fishing things like SP minnows, sluggos, bucktails. But the next real hot zone seems to be Monomoy, where we have a convergence of 3 species. We got a lot of bass on the rips there. We've got some nice bluefish up into the teens there, and tons of albies. It's just a lot of bait coming off of those rips right now. You got sand eels coming out of the sand there. There's a lot of peanut bunker around there, and it's just setting up a really strong fishing situation. So that's one of the places you can focus on, especially if you want to, go for that triple crown type of a thing. Bluefish, albie, and bass all in one day. Definitely a possibility in that region. Heading further south and west from there, though, as we get over into Nantucket Sound proper, it's become, it's practically a Normandy invasion of albies out there. And a lot of really nice fish being reported. Fish in the 9 to 12 plus category are being caught out there, and in great numbers. And guys are getting it from shore, kayak, boat, and everything in between. That's definitely the epicenter of albie activity right now. Out around the vineyard, they're getting albies on the eastern shore, they're getting some albies on the south shore. Bonito have been scarce. The only place I'm really hearing about bonito in Massachusetts is out along the Nantucket shoreline. Bass fishing's been holding up pretty well out at the vineyard and along the Elizabeth Islands, and bluefish along the south side of the vineyard also holding strong. We are hearing about some albies now leaking through into Buzzards Bay, and a few of them have gone up into the canal. Also heard about some really good bass fishing in the canal this week, and for a little more on that, let's toss it over to East End Eddie.
The good news from the canal is great news. It's just exploded. Every morning for the last week, there's been a blitz all over the canal. It's just been great. This is what we've been waiting for. And the beautiful sound of stripers on the surface slurping up peanut bunker, which is the primary bait right now. There are still mackerel and silver sides in the canal, but there are peanut bunker everywhere. You see them at your feet, they're everywhere. Big pods of them. So the stripers continue to feed on those. Nice surface bite, and it's been incredible all around. It's been so nice that even non-fishermen stop on the side of the canal out for a walk on the service road just to watch the show. It's been incredible. So hopefully that continues. So starting on the west end, experienced canal rat Bob Ware was fishing on the at Mass Maritime on the beach, and he caught some nice fish, including a slot that he caught with a white algags. And Drew Luz from Taunton caught a nice 18-pounder. He was fishing next to me at pole 370 in the west end, and he was using a blue algags. And you look in the parking lot here, you see license plates from Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey. People from everywhere come to enjoy the canal. Well, one of those guys is Tim Tuna Landino, who is a retired plumber, union plumber from Brooklyn, New York. And he and his brother Frank were into about a dozen fish apiece the other day. And and Timmy Tuna won the family honors by landing a nice slot fish with a broken back blue bomber. So congratulations to Tim Tuna. He's a great guy, and he went back to New York. And so then over to Aptuxet, where I am today, I caught about 6 fish the other day, 3 slots. I was using a guppy white Jobo with a white bucktail. And it's a great lure. I love it. It casts like a rocket, made by Wayne Hess at Guppy Lures, another great guy. And so I really like the action from that lure. And like I said, it casts like a rocket. So and then next to me, Remy Lobo from Yarmouth was catching quite a few fish, including a 30-pounder that he caught with a Sabile bunker imitation. I'm not sure which Sabile lure it was, but all of Patrick Sabile's lures are terrific, top quality components, the rings and the hooks, and a beautiful paint job, finish job, and so that's his new company, Band of Anglers, Patrick Sabile. But anyways, he caught a lot of fish that day. And moving down towards the Bourne Bridge, Bill on the Gros Prudo caught a 35-inch, including some other fish as well, and on an east tide. And then at the Sagamore Bridge, guys were doing pretty well. And Stephen Murray from Plymouth caught a nice slot on the State Pier with a Savage Gear Mackie Whack, and Wacky Mac, excuse me. And he was doing well there. That place can be kind of funny. You catch a fish on the state pier, and it's like walking under a conga line with all the rods and lines in front of you and over your head. And then guys at the East End were doing well with surface plugs and swimmers. So it's been great all around. It's just been terrific.
And the last bit of saltwater news in Massachusetts comes from Captain Jason Colby of Little Sister Charters. He's been heading out of Westport, and he's been making some offshore trips, going out to Cox's, and he's finding just about everything out there. I mean, he's getting some tog, he's getting nice sea bass, he's got some really nice fluke. They've gotten some stripers in closer to the shoreline, and they've been stopping at all the high flyers and pieces of floating debris and pulling some mahi as well. So it's a real mixed bag on that boat. But if anyone knows how to catch them, it's Jason. So give him a call, check that out. And then lastly, we're going to move inland, check out what's going on the freshwater scene with Roy Leyve.
Hey Dave, Roy Leyve here with this week's report from Western Mass. I'm going to go on a little bit of hearsay here, because really the only fishing I've done this past week is some carp fishing, which actually was really, really good. I ended up chumming beforehand the day before, pretty good a spot, and then went in the next morning, chummed again, and put out 4 rods between Brooke and I, and we had quite a few carp up on the Connecticut River. I've heard that places like Wachusett and Quabbin have really woken up with smallmouth bass and topwater action early mornings, and obviously as you get into the evening, do check times on both of those reservoirs and their restrictions, to say, because they do have their own special restrictions. Weather-wise, we're really close to trout fishing. I can feel it. It's in the air. I'm sure they're going to start stocking soon. I can't wait. I'm actually playing around with some ultralights right now and some small baits with panfish. Water continues to be really, really low, which makes things really, really tough. The other thing is they've also started treating some of the ponds chemically for weeds, which is making the fishing really, really tough. I know it doesn't, they say it doesn't affect the fish, but to me it feels like it does affect the way they feed, at least for a little bit. Other than that, probably going to do some pike fishing over the next couple of days. I won't have a report for that until next week, but that should be good. Largemouth bass fishing should still be good. Channel cat fishing in the river should be good, and as well as all the panfish and everything else. Trout, like I said, a couple weeks away, and I think we'll be good once these water temps get down at least into the 50s or 40s. We'll start seeing some of those fish come out of their thermal climate and start moving around in the shallower water. All right, till next week. Catch you later.
Over the last few days, we've seen a good push of albies coming into the eastern part of Rhode Island and kind of bleeding up into the approaches to Narragansett Bay. Good numbers and some nice sized fish mixing in. Also a surprising number of bonito in the mix there as well. So great opportunities for a mixed bag there. There's some chub mackerel, bombing around in there as well. And it's an early beginning, and I know guys have been catching some fish in that region, for the last week and a half or so. But this is the first evidence I've seen of like a really strong push of albies coming in, and that's got people fired up. So look, of course, it's got to be right in time for Labor Day weekend. So look for all those popular spots to be crowded. Look for a lot of boats to be out there, but also look for a lot of fish to be caught, because things are looking really good out there. On the surf end of things, striper catches definitely are on the rise. We've had the new moon. It's still pretty dark out every night right now. We just got that little sliver, and it's setting pretty early still. And catches have been really good. It seems like on the rougher nights, guys are doing well in the shallow boulder fields when it's calm. Guys are fishing some deeper water with eels and getting some really nice fish. And also the breachways continue to pump out fish from schoolies all the way up to the low 30-pound class. No sign of that slowing down. There just seems to be a lot of fish in that area, a lot of bait up in the estuaries. And really, if you look in any estuary right now, go up to a boat ramp up inside or a little kayak launch and look around, you're just going to see acres of peanut bunker. It just seems to be a really awesome peanut bunker year, lots of fish around, and that can only mean good things for the striper fishing and of course the albie fishing as well. For the boat guys, it seems like the two places that have been producing the most striper action are the deeper waters off of Newport and then the Watch Hill Reef System. Those seem to be the two places where we're hearing about the best fish being taken from boats. Of course, Block Island has always got to be in that conversation, but those two areas are the closer to home places that are producing the best fish. For a little more on what's going on in the Newport area, let's toss it over to Coral Aiello from Sara Star Charters.
Hi Dave, Coral here from Sara Star Charters with the Rhode Island Fishery Report. There is a lot going on out here, lots of life. I love to see it. There are big schools of peanut bunker, fish on it, birds working all the time, pretty much throughout the whole day. There's frigate mackerel, there's chub mackerel, there's bonito around, which seems to be pretty decent size this year here in Rhode Island. There are albies, there are definitely albies around. They're far and few between. You got to get lucky enough to see them and then hopefully catch one, but they're definitely here. Big bass are still hitting pretty good. You just got to get into that deeper water or that thermocline that they like, because the surface temperature is pretty warm. It's about 72, which usually it maxes out here in Newport. But lots of stuff is going on. Sea bass, still getting some fluke. So yeah, definitely ready for the fall run.
The other thing that's been happening out at Block Island is it seems like the area around and then south of the windmills just like suddenly got really good for fluke. So you're hearing guys heading from Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island out to that area to get in on that fishing. It just seemed like it kind of came out of nowhere, and that area, not even that far past the windmills, has suddenly just started really percolating with life. There's a lot of bigger bait out there, chub mackerel, butterfish, things of that nature. We heard about a 70-pound wahoo caught, within sight of the windmills, and there's been some yellowfin out there as well. And that's the other thing that's really interesting about the Rhode Island fishery right now is that, that sort of near-shore, offshore fishery for bluefin has been something that small boat guys have been getting in on for years now. But this year, we're seeing a lot of yellowfin activity in close, which has got a lot of people fired up for that. And that's, it's a 25 to 35 mile run, depending on where you go. But, there's yellowfin and bluefin out there. And the way things are going this year, you just don't know what you might run into out there. So the offshore fishing is probably the best it's been all year in Rhode Island right now. And, if that's your thing, I would make the run.
Hey Dave, this is John Lee, JL Charters, Point Judith, Rhode Island. This week we've been mostly bottom fishing for fluke, sea bass, and it definitely feels like the inshore spots are starting to. It's a little bit more effort getting the fish. The sea bass we've been in 70 feet primarily. The fluke is 70 to 80 feet. We had a couple of good trips south of Block Island for fluke. And then inshore, we had fluke to 6 pounds off Point Judith. We've been getting a couple of green bonitos, small ones. They're real small. They're mixed in with the chub max. We're getting them on jigs while sea bass fishing. And the albies, I think I saw some albie busts about 3 miles out on half beaks, and that's really all I've seen. Generally in Point Judith, we get our fish from the east, and so the albies and green bonitos come. They're at the vineyard, then Saconnet. Once they come through Saconnet good, we'll start getting them here. That hasn't happened yet, as far as I hear, and we're still waiting on that. Anyway, the fishing's been good, and I haven't really been bass fishing much. And all right, that's it. That's all I got. I'll talk to you next week. Have a good one.
And that's the story that I have for you guys in Rhode Island this week. Now we're going to slide over into Connecticut, and the WICC was over the weekend, and there was an immense amount of focus on bluefish. Heard a lot of good reports, and there was a lucky winner. It's still unofficial. We've still got to have his lie detector done, but we got a little video here just to give you a little info on who won the tournament.
This year's WICC Bluefish Tournament has come to an end, and John Macropoulos is $25,000 richer this evening. He weighed in his 16.32 gator at Jack's Bait and Tackle on City Island. Judging by the entries, the Connecticut side had the bigger fish. Chris Landry, who is seen on the Long Island Weekly Video Fishing Forecast, placed 10th this year. These are the preliminary standings, and the final standings will occur in a few weeks.
Now we're going to toss it over to my counterpart, advertising sales manager Dale Nicholson, who was out on the race during the tournament, and he's just going to give us a little report on what he was seeing out there.
Thanks, Dave. Dale Nicholson from the Fisherman magazine here on location at the race in Long Island Sound. It is a busy day, I'm assuming because of the WICC Bluefish Tournament is here this weekend. There's got to be 100 boats out here. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. We have bluefish in our live well. We have sea bass in our live well. We even caught a fluke while bluefishing, and that's in our live well as well. Just been a great day. Tons of fish everywhere. The sunbeams out here, the tartans out here. Everybody's out here. So anyway, a great day of fishing. Just wanted to give you guys the update, and back to you, Dave. Thanks.
Thanks, Dale. Appreciate that report. Looked like you guys had an awesome mixed bag out there. Thanks again. And as you saw in that report, Dale caught a fluke kind of as a fluke, by accident. But the guys, again, like we were talking about in the Rhode Island report, the guys that are focusing on fluke right now are bypassing all those usual areas in Connecticut. They're not fishing outside of Nantucket Bay. They're not fishing behind Fishers. They're not even heading over to Montauk. They're just making that run just south of the windmills where the heavy concentration of fluke happens to be. So if you don't mind burning the fuel and you're leaving from a Connecticut port, that's where I'd head if fluke's your main target. There's still good numbers of bass around the Connecticut River. It doesn't seem to be slowing down. Guys, there's enough bait now coming out of the river. You're going to hold that fish for a while, those fish for a while. The only thing that's kind of deterring some guys is the number of brown sharks. There's just so many sharks in that area. Still seeing fish bitten in half, regularly, which is something that we're not really used to seeing in that region. But the funny thing is, it seems like the biggest fish are being taken by the surf guys right now. It's been a night bite, guys going out throwing chunks, and live eels are doing the most damage, but they're also encountering the most sharks. But you can definitely get them on all manner of plugs and plastics, and just good numbers of bass in that area, from like Cornfield out to Hammonasset. It's just a really hot bite in that area. There's also been some really good topwater action in the Niantic area during the day. These fish are smaller. They're like 24 to 34 inches. But guys are getting them first and last light, and you get those pop-up blitzes now and then during the day as well. For a little bit more on what's been going on in that area, let's toss it over to Mike Roy from Real Cast Charters.
For this week's fishing report, we're going to start to transition into the fall run. So we're going to be spending more time fishing top water and chasing the top water style blitzes. We'll also be targeting larger fish. So you can start to expect to see a lot more small bait around. We've been seeing a lot of peanut bunker, juvenile silver sides, and juvenile butterfish all throughout Eastern Long Island Sound. And you can bet if you find the bait, the striped bass and bluefish aren't going to be too far behind. This is the time of year when we start to throw a lot of small soft plastics, small walk the dog type baits, as well as metal. Metal tends to work really well, so we'll fish the Shimano Current Sniper jig, usually like a 42 gram jig, which is about that's about an ounce and a half. Works really well, especially on those windy days. The past week we've still been catching a lot of big striped bass using live bait, and also there's still a lot of big brown sharks. If you check out my Instagram page, you can see a big brown shark chasing a topwater lure, so that was pretty cool. And those big bluefish are still holding on the deeper reefs, and they're hitting diamond jigs really well. So you have a lot going on, and I would also expect the black sea bass fishing to start to improve this month as well. Good luck.
Heading west from the Connecticut River, there's been an immense number of bluefish in the southwest 6 Mile, Faulkner's area, all those reefs that kind of run from Clinton all the way out to New Haven that just seem to be covered up in bluefish. There are lesser numbers of bass there, but still also plenty of bass. And really kind of universally across the entire shoreline of Connecticut, and really throughout the entire southern shoreline of New England, the porgy fishing has been off the chain. Fishing from 5 feet of water out to 55 feet of water. It doesn't really matter. If you can find yourself some gnarly structure, you're going to find porgies, and you're going to find a lot of them. The other thing, guys are getting into a little bit more sea bass now off of Connecticut. It's just kind of picking up. It's getting a little bit better every week. This is that time of year when things start to get better. And So, you know, as I seem to always be talking about, that middle corridor of Long Island Sound, just kind of heading straight out all the way to Montauk. That seems to be the area where the most sea bass action happens, and that's where I would focus if I had to go catch one in Connecticut this week. As we head further west, bluefish action has been really good out there, and the striped bass action's been kind of taking a backseat to the blues. But for more on the whole Western Sound game, let's toss it over to Max Finch from Fisherman's World.
This past week, we've seen a lot of good snapper action in our back bays, our harbors, and shallow around the islands. This is always good family fun. You know, spearing on a snapper hook with a bobber, and then guys using like little cast masters, and then your traditional snapper popper. The striped bass fishing actually had an uptick this past week during the bluefish tournament. We actually saw a lot of nice quality bass taken. Places like 11B and 28 on the chunk at night and in the early morning. I know there's been a lot of peanut bunker and small like butterfish and spearing out there too. And on the outgoing at 11B, we've seen a lot of good topwater bites. So this is a perfect time of year for guys with the fly rod to get on the fish. Locally around the islands, the bass bite is, you know, really good in the morning, and then it really tapers off past like 7:30 with this heat. But we should see this progressively getting better moving towards the fall. Though fluke fishing still remains slow, people are pounding areas, they're not reporting a good bite. You really got to work hard, so you can try shallow or deep this time of year. You know, trying live snappers is a really good way to try to find a good quality fluke. Behind like can 26, 24, and then now this time of year along our beaches with all the small bait. Black sea bass still are persistent on our deep water wrecks, so really get on those diamond jigs, butterfly jigs, and then high-low with like squid or clams. Porgy fishing still lights out, so it's always good fun. You know, clam chum, a lot of bait. Get on top of shallow water reef, deep water reef, wrecks, you know, rock piles. There's plenty of porgies to be caught. Thanks and good luck.
Thanks, Max. Appreciate the report as always. And for the last local report, let's toss it over to Rowan Lytle. Noah's working today, but toss it over to Rowan. Talk about some of the lesser utilized fisheries that we can take advantage of here in New England.
Hey Dave, I'm just taking a slack tide break here on the Rhode Island shoreline. It's a pretty decent day today. This week and last week there were a lot of hardtails just starting to show up. Not quite too many albies yet, more bonito, quite a few Spanish mackerel out west. There's also quite a lot of banded rudderfish around. That's actually what I've been catching mostly today. Large schools of them running up and down the rocks. They're a great eating fish, blast on light tackle. Noah Johnson's working today. He's running a fluke trip. I will be guiding on and off this week, focusing mostly on bowfin. They're pretty fired up still, just as they were last week. So, catch you later. Hope all's well.
And last up, let's make the long flight down to Costa Rica and hear what's going on down at Marina Pez Vela.
Hello guys, and welcome here to the Marina Pez Vela in Costa Rica. Hope you're all doing well. We got some good fishing to report down here. The yellowfin tuna bite has been wide open for this last couple of weeks. We had some really nice yellowfins in the 30 to 50 pound range in the main. My buddies aboard the boat Swordfish caught one about 130 pound just the other day. Some really nice grade yellowfin tuna out there right now. We got some mahi-mahi running. Most of them are in the smaller kind of 8 to 15 pound range, with a few fish up to 40 pounds as well. There's been blue marlin, sailfish, and closest to shore, roosterfish, snapper, mackerel, and jacks. Fishing's always good down here in Costa Rica, guys. Get those tickets booked, and hope to see you down here soon.
And that's what I have for you guys in the reports this week. Hopefully you find them useful. As I always say, if you're not a subscriber to The Fisherman, you got to head over to the website, thefisherman.com. Just type it in, go over there and check it out. There's enough free content there for you to get a taste of what we do. And, you know, it's the best $30 you can spend in fishing. There's no doubt about that. And we are the #1 source for multi-species anglers, which everybody wants to be a multi-species angler these days. Not so many guys are hyper-focused anymore. So you can get information from bass to bowfin on our website and in this magazine. So check that out. But at the very least, give us a like and subscribe here on YouTube. Hit that little bell thing down there so you get a notification every time we post something new. And don't forget, this report can also be listened to as a podcast. You can find it anywhere where you find podcasts. You can listen to me in your car or in your office or wherever you want. And outside of that, you know, it's September. There's no more excuses. It's time to fish hard. Good luck out there this week, and we'll see you guys next time.